Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cruxcast number 70. It's been a wee while since we did one of these, but it's a great pleasure to be back with you. If you know the show, you will know how it works. If you're new with us, this is where we pick a particular topic and we bring on some brilliant, interesting people to tell us all about it. Please say hello in our comments. Let us know where you are. And remember, you can ask questions or leave comments for our guests throughout the show. For Cruxcast number 70, we're going to be talking all things TEDx. Now, TEDx, as many of you might know, if you're in my network, holds a special place in my heart because I was fortunate enough to walk onto the Red Dot in 2022. And this year, I was asked to join the coaching team. So it feels fantastic. It feels an amazing thing to be part of. We are 8 days away from TEDx Aberdeen 2024, and we thought it'd be a good idea to find out what's been happening behind the scenes in the lead up to this fantastic day. Now, in just a moment, we're going to be meeting with Derek Thompson, the curator for TEDx Aberdeen, but we thought it would be a good idea to check in with the person that caused all of this, the person that set the ball rolling. So please welcome to the Cruxcast number 70, the licensee, the license holder for TEDx Aberdeen. And I'll just set up my screen here. It's Maury Barber. Hello, Maury. How are you doing?
Good morning, Eric. Very well. Thank you.
Are you well?
Very well. Very well.
Switch on our chat here and make sure that we're all live. All the tech is, I hope, working. We shall see. We shall see if it's working or not. Now, my goodness, 8 days to go. Tension is building in a good way, positive tension. How are your nerves holding up?
They're okay, I have to say. I've been more nervous about a TEDx before because part of my role, Eric, is as you know, is joint. So there's a licensee role, but also I do have some nerves because I do the presenting bit as well on the day. So I would say my nerves for that, the bits that I have to perform are the highest. Everything else seems to be, I wouldn't say under control, but certainly moving in the right direction.
In some form of control, anyway.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Like control.
Now, I introduced you as, many people will know you for what you do for your day job. But for TEDx Aberdeen, you are the license holder. What does being the license holder mean, and how does it all work?
So, if I explain how it works, that might inform what the licensee is and does. So,
Yeah.
So what? Obviously, the TED conferences are the people you'll see the big talks, the big headline talks that you've seen from TED conferences across the globe over the years. What TED did was create TEDx, which are community-run, independently organized events, so that the TED brand can spread the word, the ideas in a different way. And the means for doing that is to effectively franchise the TED brand out to individuals. So the licensee is the person who goes to TED and said, I would love to do TEDx Aberdeen. I think there's some amazing people here with incredible stories. I would love to do a TEDx in Aberdeen. So as licensee, I'd apply and they kind of do a bit of diligence on yourself. They do diligence on your ideas because they say, well, if you were to do a TEDx, what would it look like? What would it feel like in Aberdeen? And then in terms of so my role is, once you have the license, you are effectively responsible for delivering a quality TEDx event. And so, for those, it's a kind of relatively new term. It's either producer, is a kind of UK term, or in the US for the TV and things, they call it showrunner. I'm effectively, the buck stops with me. I need to make sure that a TEDx event goes on and is as smoothly and as professional as it can possibly be.
Fantastic. Now, you have a very serious day job, which requires a lot of your time and focus. You must have been sitting there thinking, I'm just not busy enough. Why on earth did you do this?
Well, you're right. I do have a busy job, but I was actually between jobs at the time. So I left one professional services firm to join EY, and as part of that, I was given a year's garden leave.
A year?
A year, 12 months of when I wasn't allowed to work. It was terrible.
That was awful.
Awful. I can't believe you're doing this to me. But so I did have some time in my hands, and I guess I was still living real life. So my kids were going to school, we're getting up in the morning, and during that period of time, I'd always liked the TED Talk, but I was getting up really early in the morning just because I couldn't have any kind of anything work stresses. I was just waking up early, and I would watch TED Talks in the morning, and then I did a bit of research and thought, well, there isn't I think there was this TED events in Glasgow, which had grown really, really big, and there hadn't been a formal TEDx event in Aberdeen for I think maybe some of the universities had done something. So I thought we should do one in Aberdeen. There's so many people with fantastic stories, and so having consulted with just Jill Simpson is one of the team and support from the Chamber of Commerce, I thought, right, I'm just going to apply, and and I got the license, and then oh right,
Have to do something with this.
I now need to get on with this.
My goodness me, my goodness me. What a story. It's amazing. I'm just going to take a bit of time out to say hello to some of our wonderful viewers. We've got 2021 TEDx Aberdeen alumni, brother Dr. Tim Wiggum now. Dr. Tim, great to be here. Two legends on screen. Lovely to have you with us, Tim. What a TED Talk.
Yeah.
Mood set, right? Amazing. Fantastic. The lovely Sarah Downs is with us. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, guys. Looking forward to this. Brilliant. And the lovely Suzanne Todd has joined us as well. Isn't that great? Please drop a note in, say hi. We love to find out who's listening, who's with us. And, if you've got a little bit of TED history, if you're a TED fan, if you've given a TED talk, if you've done it in another city, drop a little note in. This is all about the wonderness of TED. Fantastic. Now, clearly, how many people are going to be turning up on the 16th of November? How many roughly?
Roughly about 300.
About 300. Brilliant. Yeah. So 300 people turn up and need to feel like they've bought their ticket. They're coming out for a brilliant day, and they sit in their lovely seat. They get fed lovely food. They get entertained, and they hear wonderful talks. But what goes on? When does the build-up start, and what is involved in creating the TED event?
So the build-up starts, I would say, about 12 months ahead of the big day. And fortunately, this is our third event we've done. The lead-in time to the very first one wasn't 12 months; it was actually much shorter. So we learned our lesson from that. But 12 months is about the right time. So clearly, you need to choose the right location, the right venue for it. Putting a team together, coming up with actually the main thing. What TED asks you to do is come up with a theme, and that is really helpful, because then that helps us kind of curate what the talks might be. It gives us an anchor point.
Right.
So coming up with a theme is really important, and then assembling a team, a bit like the A-Team or the Avengers. You've got to get the right people in and around you, and each year sometimes that'll change. And we've had a bit of a backbone, certainly over the last two TEDx's, and then actually the really important piece is building the community that can help you deliver this TEDx. So the speakers and finding the speakers, hugely important, but the event wouldn't happen without all the partners that come on board. So businesses, economic organizations that are there for the greater good for the city. The support from that has been amazing, but that takes time to almost curate the partnership to build the event.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's over to I guess the application process for the speakers, and then suddenly that's when things, as you remember, Eric, starts to really take off.
Gets a little bit sweaty at that point. Gets a little bit sweaty. You mentioned themes, Maury. In 2022, when I was on the Red Dot, the theme was movement, which was a wonderful topic, really broad and wide, and we saw that in the range of talks that came in 2022. This year, you chose identity. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, it's actually, again, a bit of an evolution over the three TEDx events, Eric. So the very first one, 2021, I'm sure we can all remember, we're coming out of COVID and lockdowns, and so the first theme is new ways of seeing old things, and this was about, I guess, what inspired that was seeing going out to our streets and cities and buildings being empty, and also having, I think, COVID kind of asked different questions of us, and so how do we take a step back and look at things? So those talks were amazing, prompted a bunch of other thoughts, which then said, okay, so we've thought about how we could do things differently. What then do you do? So what's the change? And change was, change is a nice word, but it's not as rich as movement. And the phrase movement conjures up lots of different ideas around, okay, how do you affect change? Is it a personal movement? Is it a civic movement? Is it a large action? So and again, all all the speeches really brought out the idea of change, but in a positive way. What then became apparent as people were talking about their talks during movement, the word identity came out time and time and time again.
Right.
And actually, when you watch the video that Erin produced from Pink Specks, identity is mentioned, I don't know how many, 20
It really
times.
is. It really is. I think there's a brilliant clip with Dale Redvers talking about identity. So he was even pushing through that theme that
Yeah.
year. So
So
it seemed natural.
it seemed really natural. So we went away and we kind of tried to think about other things, but then actually when you think about the flow of the talks from that, it lends itself perfectly to identity. So okay, so where are we now? And what does that mean? Where am I now? Where is the city now? Where is the region? Where are we as a society? And so it kind of builds on the two, and it's brought about some fantastic talks, which people will hear on the 16th. They
Oh
really are
my
great.
goodness, won't they just? Won't they
Yeah.
just? It's just terrific. Absolutely. I think I have to admit, when I first heard the theme, I thought that's quite a narrow band. I wonder what's going to come out of this. But the range of diverse approaches to identity and what
Yep.
identity means is quite incredible. The viewers are in for a treat this year. They really are. Speaking about our speakers, our TEDx speakers 2024, yet to be formally anointed, but on their way. You've managed to get along to some of the training this year. How have you found that?
But it's for me, it's really, it's quite emotional actually, Eric, because
Really?
most for me as well as you. But I think you know I we see the applications come in when we ask people to bring forth their ideas, and um, I I um I I see them in that very early form, and then I kind of hand the baby gets picked up by Derek and yourself and the rest of the team, and then I come in towards the end and just to see the evolution and the confidence growing in the speakers towards the end, all that work that's been done, they'll have done themselves to get to that place, and then and say, like, wow, that idea that came out, that 1 minute pitch
Yeah.
has turned into a 12-minute, 30-minute talk of real richness and insight and um, deeper understanding for the listener. So yeah, it's again a sense of nervousness before you hear the dry runs, but then you kind of settle back and go, all right, okay, this team have got it.
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
nice.
it is a wonderful. I mean, I know it sounds a bit cheesy talking about the journey, but
Yeah,
I don't know if everyone gets this. This is such whether these people come in as experienced speakers, whether they come in as novice speakers who just have an idea. The journey that everyone goes on is profound.
yeah, and you'll have felt this, and maybe Derek will touch on it as well. But what what I get a glimpse of is how those speakers come together as a group as
Yeah,
well, and
yeah,
the I guess the trust they place in each other,
yep.
and then what the unit that comes together for not just the event, but then after that as well. It's happened all three times, and actually it was really hard for the 2021 cohort because of COVID. They were coming, they were doing all this online,
Yes, yes.
and
My goodness.
and yet this bond still happened, despite the screens and the lack of in person until very close to the event.
I'm going to say hi to some of our lovely guests that we have with us today, or people watching. Craig McBeath has joined. Happy Friday, folks. Happy Friday to you, Craig. Callum Taylor is here. Now, there's a strong TEDx connection to 2024. Callum Taylor is Rose Owen's partner.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Okay.
fab? Isn't that
Right.
fab?
Great.
Absolutely terrific. Hi, Callum. I hope Rose is watching in the background. Remember, we only have Murray here for another couple of minutes. So if you have any questions or comments about TEDx Aberdeen or anything else, yeah, anything. The floor is open. Mark Cowison is here. Good morning, Mark. We have Dorcas Lamptey, the lovely Dorcas. Hi, Dorcas. Great to see you. I'm looking forward to hearing from all the incredible. That does say. Hold on. She goes on to say, I'm looking forward to hearing from all the incredible speakers and connecting with everyone there. Kudos to the team. And Tim is talking about the fact that the journey is certainly profound, transformative. It really is. It really is. This TEDx experience will stay with you for life. Now, you alluded to it at the start. You don't just sit back stroking your license from the best seats in the house on the day. You roll your sleeves up, and you and the lovely Jill Simpson get involved. You're co-hosts. You host it.
Yes.
What you bring into the party this year?
So our job, Eric, is to keep the energy up between the talks, and not that the energy will dip, but the audience will be waiting to hear the next speaker. But we've got a bunch of technical stuff that needs fixed in the background and keep things moving. So there'll be lots of energy. I'd expect a few dad jokes, Eric.
Great, my favorite.
Yep.
My favorite tonight.
I have been guilty of those in the past, so I'm going to explore that rich seam even further. Jill will probably be rolling her eyes quite a lot, I'd have thought.
Yes.
Yeah. but we're going to intersperse the day with, we have to, Ted asked us to show some classic TED videos, so we'll show that through the day. We've got City Moves coming in, doing a session. We've got DJ Home Alone, keeping the energy up. There's all that going on, because this is about the TED experience. The speakers are obviously first and foremost the main event, but we've got some really brilliant stuff happening front of house as well, which will I guess stimulate curiosity, make people think, stop and have, again, it's all about creating conversations, deepen understanding of things. It's the whole mix of TEDs. You should come out feeling exhausted. That's the plan. I certainly am. But the idea is just to be like, wow, there's so much going on in this city. I've heard so much of these amazing speakers, and look at all the amazing stuff that the partners are doing to contribute to making this happen.
And you make quite a big deal about the food on the day, don't you?
Food is very important. We try and buy local, and make sure we showcase local food. But I mean, you'd be amazed. So TED makes sure there's feedback from the attendees on the day, because they want this one of their forms of quality control of me.
Right.
And food crops up quite a lot around people's feedback. So we have to make sure the food is
high bar.
High bar, and butt trays will always feature. I don't know if that's just me. That's like that's the one thing I only do this if I can make sure there are butt trays on the day.
Batteries on the day. Batteries on the day.
That's the only time I call rank.
When you put your foot down. Yeah. You alluded to this a couple of seconds ago, but you mentioned some of your amazing sponsors and partners throughout. You've got some terrific sponsors this year, and I guess some that have been with you for many years, right?
Yeah, we're incredibly lucky. When we started speaking about this idea, so the natural place to go, given this is all about deepening understanding, creating curiosity, with the universities. So the University of Aberdeen and RGU have been with us from the very start, and continue to add. The way both of them have contributed this year, again, is they've raised their involvement and appetite to move things on. AB15, obviously pivotal in terms of the coaching. And then some of it we need. We need financial support to it costs a lot to do a TEDx event. So there are firms that support us in that way, companies that support us in that way. Some brilliant tech companies, Solab, Pinnacle Visualization. They're committed to TED, and they really support me and the team. It's fantastic, but also in kind. So Mearns and Gill, XIC, Burness Paul helps us with our legals. You'd be amazed that we just need we need to protect speakers, we need to protect ourselves, we need to protect the sponsors. So Burness Paul helps us in kind on stuff like that. So there's like we're nearly up to 20 different partners who all contribute in one way or another to help us get to the stage. And whether it could be Aaron from Pink's Fix, it could be Aberdeen Performing Arts have supported us and actually helping us get us to the music hall. So yeah, it's a real community city event, and that's what makes me so proud.
And that's the thing I think that gets me is it's not just 10 people standing on a stage talking to some people who've managed to buy. This is a total city effort and heave to
Yeah.
get this thing just fantastic. And I love it. I love the amount of people that donate their time, donate their services, just to make this a brilliant city event.
The volunteering is, I mean, the volunteers on, whether it's on the day or the team that pull this together, yourself, Eric, you know, the coaches, the mentors, Zia and Judith, you know, yeah, it's all because we believe in the messaging, the messages that the speakers will have, and the impact those talks can have.
Outstanding. Now, your focus is clearly on the 16th and delivering the best TEDx Aberdeen that the city has seen so far. Is there anything, just taking your attention away from that and looking into the future, is there anything you can share with us, any secret squirrels that you can share for like TEDx activity in Aberdeen in 2025?
Yes, I can share. So we don't quite know when the next main TEDx might be, and again, some of that's subject to Ted renewing my license. But what we worked really closely with the partners around what we can create as a legacy and other type events. Um, so for example, we can run kind of TEDx salons. So for example, last year we did a TEDx salon with the University of Aberdeen around energy transition. So they provided some fantastic academics who are working in that space, but we brought a TED angle to that. So we involved the community in the audience, and it was a really interesting discussion around skills. You know, it wasn't a kind of dry technical energy transition
Yeah.
thing. It was actually like, what was a just transition? So it's those kind of things which TED can bring just a different lens to it, a different feel to it. And then what was really brilliant is we did TED Ed last year in with RGU Tech Fest, and we're looking to bring back TED Ed, which is bringing pupils from the local schools onto the Red Dot and doing their own
That's
little event.
fabulous.
So that plan is to do another TED Ed next year.
Very good, very good. You heard it here first, folks. I'm thinking that LinkedIn user is Jill. Jill, if it is, please let us know it's you. She said, "Me, roll my eyes, never," earlier in a previous comment. Our partners are committed to bringing something special to our city. We couldn't do it without them. They totally understand the TEDx ethos of community connections and conversation.
100%.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
We have a question. We have a question from Callum Taylor. I'm going to put it up on the screen. It might not all come up on the screen. No, it did. How do you help speakers strike a balance between being bold, hard-hitting, and potentially controversial, and still being acceptable and thought-provoking? Will I hold that for our next guest?
I think our next guest will answer that.
Yeah, I'll bank that
better
one.
way than me. Yeah,
I'll definitely bank that one. Right. Finally, I know you're a busy chap, and thank you so much for giving up some of your time this morning. We said we'd do 15 minutes. We're nearly at half an hour, but that's wonderful. It's fine.
Yeah.
You have gone to all this effort, as have all of the team and the speakers and all of the massive crew and all of that. As the license holder, what do you want? What are your hopes for how people are going to feel when they leave the music hall on the 16th, or if they tune into any of those YouTube videos in future?
Gosh, that's a good question. Pride, I think.
Pride.
And the reason I say that is, you know, there'll be people in there that are aligned with the speakers, you know, the family and friends, but you know, I'm hoping there's people in the audience that come out and go, we've just listened to 10 local people telling their inspiring stories in a engaging, thoughtful and entertaining way. And look at how this event's been supported by the local community and businesses and academia. Wow. You know, there's a lot to be proud of in Aberdeen. That's what I would like people to think when they come.
Oh, I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. We're going to take the last couple of comments from Emma and Richard. I think this is probably touching on TED Ed, but Emma's asking if a TED Youth would be considered. Probably getting into TED Ed territory.
It's the same. There's slightly different ways you can do TED Ed, and it depends on, you have to also have a license for that. But you can do it at TED schools, you can do universities, but our TED Ed is slightly different. So yes is the answer.
Yeah, brilliant. And finally, the lovely Richard Urich has said TED Ed is so very important. Presentation skills should be something every young person is equipped with when they leave school. Here, Mr. Urich, absolutely spot on. And a brilliant coach he is at that too. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sure you've only got 65 things to tick off on the to-do list today, but that is fine. thank you so much for doing this today. Thank you so much for all of your efforts in putting this on for the city. The 16th is going to be magnificent. I know that already.
Well, thank you, Eric, and thanks for the opportunity. It's been great to chat about it. It's one of my favourite subjects. So, thanks. I really enjoyed the chat. So.
Lovely. We shall see you soon, Maury. Ta-ta.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, that was lovely, wasn't it? Really, really nice to speak to the license holder and find out what goes on in the background behind a momentous event that is TEDx in a particular city. Now we are going to flip to, this is going to feel quite weird because myself and this chap are on Zoom calls just about every day, sometimes twice a day, and we're going to do one live right now. Please welcome TEDx Aberdeen curator, Derek Thompson. Hello, Derek.
Hello, good morning. This is like being on the wheel. I've been sitting under the floor for the last half an hour, and now I'm up. Wow.
Derek goes away and Derek comes back. Well, this is odd.
It is odd.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It's great. Our little Zoom call with an audience. Brilliant. Love it.
A little Zoom call with an audience. We're going to explain what Derek's role is in the process for TEDx Aberdeen in just a second. But if you have any questions or comments, please jump in and say hi. And everyone gets a shout out here. Derek Thompson. Derek Thompson, love. Your official role and your official title in this capacity for TEDx Aberdeen is curator. What does a curator do? What's it all about? What's it all about, love?
I had to look it up myself when I got the job. What is a curator? No.
What is a curator?
Yeah, well, quite simply, it's my job to bring all the speakers together, Eric, from that initial Excel spreadsheet that I get. If I just take you through the job, if you like, it'll probably then explain itself. So the Excel spreadsheet with all these applicants arrives on my desk. I have to go through, this year there was 97, which was quite extraordinary. I have to go through each and every one of them with a fine-tooth comb to look at, well, number one, have they met the brief in terms of what they were asked to do, which was basically just tell us a little story about themselves and what they would talk about under the theme of identity. So 97, that's a lot. You generally go through each of them at least 3 times just to check and double check that you've got or you've not missed anything. And out of that 97, then probably 10 or 15, somewhere in that region, you can discount probably straight away because they haven't met the brief. They've just sent you their CV or they've just sent you something about their job. And it just becomes a wee bit of promotion. And those immediately go to the side because they've not met that initial brief. Right, tell me about identity. What are you going to say? What are you going to talk about? Then you go through.
We are global leaders in the supply of.
Yeah, it's websites repeated on video basically. So yeah, sadly, and they come from all over the world, funnily enough, which is amazing to Aberdeen. People actually know that TEDx Aberdeen is happening in California, in Africa. So incredible. Anyway, after I've got through that raft, we go to the next lot, which is basically now, tell me a story. Tell me your story. Tell me what you're going to say. Make me excited. Make me want to sit up and take notice. Make me want to listen. Make me want to know more. So those are the kind of key things that I'm looking for to begin with. And generally, you can then discount another 20 to 30 at that point because there's just not a cohesive or a coherent story against the theme that's been chosen for the year. And then eventually that gets you right down to what I would call the final 20. And that's the top 20, if you like. So each and every one of those talks has got something. It's got something in it that I think people would want to listen to. It's got something in it that, again, as the TEDx brand demands, something that people will walk out of the room after hearing it and go, I want to change the way I do something. I want to tell somebody about it. I want to go and change my life. And I'm sure we'll come on to talk about that in a second.
Yeah, okay then. Now, that ear and that eye that you have for doing that, just seeing that little diamond in the rough, that little chink of light in a perhaps confused application, but there's just something there. That isn't something that you just guess at. You've been, I mean, for those that don't know, go on. And I know you don't like talking about this, but there was a particularly significant, profound moment in your life where you were a high-ranking official in the TV and film world, darling, and you would look for that when people would pitch you documentaries, TV shows, dramas, whatever it was. Give us a wee bit about that. It's a lovely story.
No, well, that's exactly where it comes from. Is that I initially started as a sound engineer in broadcasting, so it was great. I got to travel the world and do big shows and meet lots of people and war zones, famines, you name it. We were there, and it was just a great life in TV. I finally made my way up the ladder, thinking actually dodging bullets in the Lebanon is not the place to be, or even shiny floor shows like the good old Spitting Image or The Price is Right. I mean, I'm sure our younger audience will not remember those. Anyway, I eventually made it into management somehow, and got to run the Shaboodle. And what was good about that was that you were then at the forefront of actually writing checks that made TV programs. And before you wrote a check, you wanted to be certain that what was coming your way was going to create something beautiful for an audience on screen. So that's really where all this came from. Just listening very carefully to what producers, writers, and production companies would come forward with. So you're sitting there thinking, will this actually make the cut? If I give them a check for £1 million or whatever it is it going to make a nice 50-minute documentary or drama that people are going to sit and watch? Because at the end of the day, I wanted to sell airtime. And if it didn't cut that or make that criteria, then obviously you weren't going to write them a checks. But it just comes over years and years of sitting, listening very carefully to stories. Does it do those certain things which make me sit up and take notice, keep me interested from start to finish? And actually, nobody in the world does it better than Pixar.
Yeah, they're masters, right? Masters.
And that's where, so subsequent to Life in Broadcasting, when Bob Keeler and myself met up, we got together and we thought, well, what can we do here? And the one thing that we could do after our careers was actually help other people in businesses across sectors to tell their business stories or to tell their personal stories better. And so was born AB15 and our storytelling. And Pixar is essentially what a lot of it is based on, is how to tell stories properly. Because I would challenge anybody to, if I was to ask you how many business presentations in the last year do you really remember?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably close to zero. Because people just don't invest in the art of good storytelling and good pitching for their businesses, and you generally tend to see the same, a lot of the same thing, that you walk out of the room going, really? I could have spent 15 minutes of my life better. So yeah, that's what we're now doing, is helping people to cut the mustard in business storytelling, and thus the relationship with TEDx in Aberdeen.
Beautiful, beautiful. You had, I'm guessing your first TEDx experience in Aberdeen was 2021, which is quite a tough challenge. I mean, Tim's in the audience. I'm hoping some of the other 2021 speakers are with us today. You had COVID complications to deal with, right?
Yeah, it was a particularly difficult one, because that not being in the room with people initially is, it's just not a good place to be, because the whole essence of TED is when you make those first calls to the people who've got through. So going back to that 20, we go down to obviously the 10 speakers that are chosen. And that's the lovely bit, is that initial call that I make to people to say, hello, it's Derek here. And they go, who? And I say, yeah, you're through the hoop. You're going to be one of this year's 10 TEDx speakers. A magical moment, and lots of, gosh, it makes me emotional now.
Yeah.
I'm like that guy, that Potter guy. Every time this happens, I start crying. It's incredible. The people sign up to it. They then have to think about, right, what are we going to talk about here on the day itself? So the whole process starts at that point. Sorry, and go back to your question again, Eric.
It was about the trickiness of the 2021 event, but still pulled off a magnificent show with 10 great speakers. But then 2022, I got one of those calls and we were all able to do it in person, which was amazing, right? Amazing. Yeah. Just fantastic. I it might make you emotional. I think I swore at you. I think you did. I think I told you to, F off. Don't be stupid. This is a wind up. So 2022, we were all in person. I guess there's been learning for you along the way. You had the difficult sort of trying to do it on Zoom calls, then 2022, all in person, able to do the process, 12 weeks preparation to get Red Dot ready. And now we're into 2024 with a magnificent team of people. What is the most profound thing that stuck out with you? You've trained, what, 30 plus some salon, maybe pushing 50 TED speakers now. What's the most profound thing that stands out to you in that learning for you as well?
Well, I think from that initial moment when Bob and I are trawling through the speakers, and just to see people in the raw, and then to see them transition from that to that magical moment when they stand on the dot and they give all of themselves, because that is the process. It's that magic moment, because I'm the last person to see them walk onto the stage, and I'm the first person to pick them up when they come off the stage. And wow, it's like, well, as you know, I consider them all to be my children, my babies. And it's just a magical moment. It's everything all rolled up into one in that big ball of emotion as they go off. They deliver phenomenal speeches. They come back off, and to see them having flown, and to see your faces as you come off the stage going, yeah, I did that. It's just the best.
Yeah, fabulous, fabulous. My next question has been kind of picked up with a lovely comment from Craig McBeath. My next question was about advice to someone who's out there and thinks they might have a nice story, but I couldn't stand on that red dot. I couldn't go on stage and speak about it. Craig, the lovely Craig McBeath, is asking, I'll finish off, the last bit's been cut off, I'll finish that. What I'm most excited about, Derek, is hearing the varied stories. I could see myself standing on that red dot one day, but like many, I lack the confidence in myself, or had what I saw as an interesting enough story to align with the theme of identity. Storytelling is such an important part of business and the evolution of our industry and region. Can't wait. What a lovely comment, right? Absolutely. On that subject of confidence and, having a particular talk which absolutely nails the brief, let's talk about the confidence and the process.
Yeah. Well, the simple answer is that anybody can stand on the red dot. And we've proven it time and time again that if you have a little story, a little seed of a story inside yourself, and you are lucky enough to come into the process, even if you're not in the process, you can stand up and tell a great story. And I think that's what we do in AB15, is we tell lots of people and businesses, oh no, I'm an engineer, I could never tell a story, or oh no, I'm an accountant, I don't do that stuff. I guarantee you that given time, and given the proper training, and given the proper fertile ground, anybody can stand on the red dot and tell a great story. Anybody can stand up in a business and tell a great story. So even if you're nervous, all of these things we can overcome them.
Teachable,
coachable, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, the answer is, doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what your background is, it is possible, and you just need to believe in yourself. Come into a process, trust the process, and trust the people around you in that process, because that's why we do what we do at AB15. We just love to see people flourish. We love to see businesses flourish. Because, as I say, there's a veneer of nonsense that goes out there we're subjected to every day, and it just could be so much better. But by sitting down and going through this process, absolutely anybody can stand on the red dot or stand up in a business and do a talk.
I think in the little movie that's going around from the 2022 event, Lauren Hay said it beautifully. Remember Lauren's brilliant speech on Doric and keeping
Doric? Do. It was one of the best ever.
Oh, I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. I often likened it to, would you pay a tenner, a fiver or a tenner at the Edinburgh Fringe to go and see one of these talks? And I would go back and see Lauren's over and over and over again. She said it beautifully in the film. She said, I thought I was just going to make a story and turn up on a Saturday and tell it. I had no idea that it was going to be so soul-searching, the process, and get so deep and into my bones. It was just, it's a deep journey. And we see it. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to work with you this year with the 2024 crew, which has been a joy. And you see them on day one, they turn up with a wee air of confusion, a little bit of mix of what's going on with their sheets of paper. I've got my story. And then when you see them on week 8, they're completely transformed. There's been tears, joy, laughter, self-doubt, confidence peaks then into self-doubt again.
And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that, and I really am very clear on that very first phone call. I have to be, because we need to protect them. We need to protect all of us in this process, because it is such a roller coaster. And, people just don't get that on that first call. Oh, yeah, as you say, it'll be fine. Just pitch up another day. I'll wing it, put a few slides on, it will be good. But, 15 weeks is what it takes, and at least, everybody must be working in close 100 hours now in terms of time, because from that initial phone call to the turning up on the day with a kind of script, as I say, each week we go through in the 15 weeks is developing that script, further. And is it fair to say, yeah, most people's stories don't end up the way they started?
That's true. So true.
Simply, it's like an Airfix model pack. You've got all these bits to glue together, and you think you're going to end up with a Boeing 737, and you actually end up with a jumbo jet. But nonetheless, the core story is still there. But in the 15-week process, probably just worth telling folk that that it's the scripting part that's important first of all, in order to get the core story down. Then we go through a whole process of rehearsing, playing it back, videoing yourselves, and each week we meet to let all the others in the group see what's going on. Then the story develops in such a way that you're starting to think about, right, what do I need to do in that story to make people continuously sit up and take notice for 12 minutes? 12 minutes is a long time. Some people were given, 15, 16 minutes last year, and they actually did, I think, 21 minutes, Eric, in your part. And I had to...
Sorry, Derek, you're breaking up.
Yeah, so it's a long time, but each minute of that 12 minutes has to have something in it where the audience are just continually going, tell me more, what's next? My goodness me. And talks vary in timbre and tone, and you'll see in this coming Saturday. I mean, there's lovely anchor talks which just sit beautifully in the mix. There are other talks which are up here and down there and all over the place in an emotional terms. So it's going to be a rollercoaster. But during the process, we eventually get to the point where we wean people away from scripts altogether, and we move them on to what we call storyboards, so that they're standing on a stage, standing on the red dot. They must have nothing in front of them. The storyboards are there for them to refer to if they need to pick up on the train of thought in their story, but they're not beholden to anything, and they can walk around on the red dot and wax lyrical for 12 minutes. But as I say, it's a long process, and it really pulls it out of you, because you've got to put every ounce of yourself into it to get every ounce of yourself out of it. And I think, as I say, you and I, the last time we did this together, I mean, that was an emotional roller coaster, to say the least, given the circumstances you were talking about.
Yeah.
But to actually portray that on a stage with the right emotion, and the right volume in every part that you were talking about, it takes a while to craft it properly.
It really does.
No time is wasted.
But one of our speakers this year, the lovely Katrina Turner, says the process is an absolute gift. An absolute gift. There you go.
And right back at you, Rose, the absolute gift to us on this side of it is all of you, because all of you who put yourselves up to do this in the first place. Wow, it's an amazing step up. It's an amazing challenge, and you have blessed us this year by the outputs that we're getting. Amazing.
Terrific, absolutely terrific. The theme of identity, as I said to Murray, when I first saw this year's theme, I thought that's quite a narrow band. I wonder if we're just going to get pretty much 10 different versions of the same story. But one of the things that's really impressed me this year is how each of our speakers is taking us on a completely different speech talk journey around this topic of identity. Very cleverly selected to make sure, as the TV scheduler, with your TV scheduler brain on, that we have documentary to action film to comedy to drama we've got that beautiful layout throughout the day, all in the themes of identity. Isn't it interesting how varied and diverse they are, even though they're on the same kind of theme?
Yeah, and going back to the selection process, as you can imagine, there was a huge raft of the talks where, just purely based on my identity and who I am and where I've been.
Yeah.
And to actually get right down to where we are now has been an extraordinary journey, because as you say, without giving the game away, each and every story here has taken identity and taken it into a completely different dimension as far as I'm concerned. You know, and has taught me an awful lot about identity and things that I never even had thought of before. You know, and the other wonderful thing is people are going to walk out of that the music hall on Saturday going, wow, I really need to go and do something about something. I can promise them that, because there's, you know, the essence of a lot of these talks is urging you to go and think very differently about how you react, how you act, in and again, without giving the game away, in very different dimensions.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And again, it sounds awful without giving the game away, but definitely without giving the game away, we have a little surprise that we haven't spoken about, which we're not going to speak about. But if you have a ticket for the day or tune into the YouTube, we have a little surprise, which is just it's gonna thrill people, right?
Yeah, you know, it's just another little, you know, if you can imagine TEDx next Saturday as a beautiful crown, this is just another little sparkly jewel at the top of it that is going to make people go, whoa. I think our future is safe.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Now, a little word on the crew that you assemble on the day.
The crew.
I think none of us expected in 2022. Richard will know all about this from his time in TV. You certainly know all about it, but none of us really expected the massive crew of audio techs, sound engineers, cameramen, production suites, all of that. And just to give our lovely audience an idea of where the people are at just now, we've just had the full technical rehearsal, which is all of the technical aspects with the stage manager, the lovely Keith and his team. I'm calling him lovely Keith. He wasn't particularly lovely in 2022 on the day. A little bit brisk. He had a lot in his mind.
Well, if you can imagine, like any theatre or TV audience show, the stage manager, the floor manager, he's got a big gig there, because
Yes,
he's like herding cats, get everybody together, and not just the presenters, the entire technical crew on stage. Yeah, so Keith Donaldson, he is looking after everything that happens on that stage. Graham Reid is looking after all the lighting and the cameras. And PCL Live will be looking after all the screens and bits and pieces of the audience, and the music hall crew themselves. I mean, again, fine bunch of sound and lighting and rigging and stage people who will make sure that the experience for the speakers is superb. I mean, what a venue as well to be in.
yeah.
It's you know, we went up the other day to look at the stage itself, and it is an absolutely massive stage for one person to be standing on. But again, that's what the training's been about, is, you know, how do you command that little red dot for the 12 minutes that you're on it, and make sure that nobody else does anything other than focus on you. So yeah, big job in hand, but the crew will make it a seamless day for them. We've got another tech rehearsal coming up on Friday, where we'll start to run the whole show end to end, minute by minute, block it all through and make sure it's good. I've got Murray and Jill to speak to as well, because we're also involved in helping them craft their piece for the day, which is great. And you know what, it's going to be a great day to seeing all the...
You probably heard it, but he did mention dad jokes. Just
oh God,
focus in on them.
No.
We love dad jokes. We love dad jokes.
No, those will disappear. I can assure you, not.
Isn't it fantastic? Yeah, it might just be bracketed as 15 weeks worth of training, but as well as the growth that you see and the development that you see in the speakers, isn't it wonderful, the learning and growth that you get yourself working with them as a coach? It's just wonderful. It's been an amazing experience. Everyone's learning in the room, right?
Yeah, and I can't say it enough to them, you know, every day. Thank you for what you're doing here, because you are genuinely a blessing to me and everybody else who's working with you. Watching you grow and form yourselves. And I think it comes back to Callum's question earlier, you know, how do you ensure, you know, that everything that goes on that stage is right proper. But it comes down to the speakers themselves. They are almost the barometer in this, and they know when things are right or wrong. And it's very seldom that we have to step in and go, actually, that's not right. It's very seldom that we have to step in and go, no, you're just talking rubbish here. It's a barometer that they choose to create themselves. They generally get it right, and our job is just to tweak and nurture and move them from one bit to the next, so that they ultimately can, as I say, stand on that red dot and tell a story that potentially millions of people will see. Potentially millions of people will turn to and find it as a beacon that will help them. And there really are at least two of those stories this time that I think for certain individuals in the community, they are going to be a lifeline.
Agreed. And I know the ones you're talking about and can't wait to see them handed over on the day.
Yeah.
Derek, I'll start with the speakers. What are your hopes? I'm going to ask you two questions on hopes for different groups of people. What are your hopes for the speakers at TEDx 2024 on the 16th, a week on Saturday, when the day's over?
Is that, we can all stand and have a glass of something at the end of it and go, that was a phenomenal day. And beyond that, that just like your particular year and the year before you, Eric, that it's all gone forward for all of you to create something that's meaningful to you.
Yeah.
It's given you that platform for greater connections around the planet. And just that connection with other human beings who want to know more about something, who have the graciousness and the humbleness to learn and be allowed that connection with you and with all the speakers that are coming up on Saturday. That's the thing I hope for them, is that, it was quite funny when I used to travel the world a long time ago into some of the not so pleasant places. We created a little club called the Chummy Club International, and it was all about friendship and helping one another across the planet. And I think that now, as I'm a grown-up person, because I was quite young then, it just means everything, having that club of people who can get together and change things.
Oh, I love it. I understand what you mean about the reach. I had no concept of the reach. Now, I think there are probably in the 2 years a couple of hundred little events in public where people have tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, did you give a TED talk on your friend Andrew?" I said, "Yes." And someone, bursts out crying or just says, I just wanted to let you know it really spoke to me and stuff like that. I was in Houston, Texas, in a restaurant in Houston, Texas, at a social evening with a company. Someone tapped me on the shoulder and turned around and said, "You wouldn't have happened to have given a TED talk with a red shirt on about your friend in the desert, would you? This is a long shot." And we're in Houston, and these things have long legs and they have long impact, and it's a beautiful, beautiful connection. And finally, I asked Maury the same question, when people leave the music hall on the 16th after an amazing day, what are your hopes what sort of thoughts and what sort of feelings are you hoping that they have?
Again, probably the same as what Murray said, is that they walk out wanting to go and change something, do something, speak about something, and just take on board what the speakers have said and use it for good. I think that's all we can ask. I think also it was quite funny at the end of the last time, there was a couple of people in the corridor, who were genuinely crying and emotionally moved by some of the talks. And I said to them at the time, what is it about today that's touched you so much? And they both said it's just the fact that we can come to a place in our city and be entertained in such a way that we can really touch and feel. And I think that's the extraordinary. It's not like going to watch a theatre show.
Yeah.
You're actually involved in a day where you're talking to other human beings. And it just creates a really special environment. And I think it's almost like this, you're walking into this magic bubble. And because you can talk to all of us, you can talk to the speakers, you can talk to the technicians, you can talk to everybody, and it's just an extraordinary, great day of people, like-minded people being together, wanting to be touched and entertained.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I'm guessing that between the 17th and the 25th of November, you're just going to be sitting crying in a dark room, sucking your thumb.
Until somebody throws me another Excel spreadsheet.
Derek, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I'll call you in 10 minutes.
Fine.
All right. This has been an absolute joy. Thanks to Derek. I'm going to put you off in the green room, old chap.
Great.
I'll catch you later. Thank you for your time. Thanks for your insight. That was brilliant. See you, Derek. Ta-ta.
Bye-bye.
Wasn't that lovely? Wasn't that lovely? Cruxcast number 70 with Murray Barber, the license holder of TEDx Aberdeen, and Derek Thompson, the curator of TEDx Aberdeen. I would like to thank our guests today for their insight and for all of the work that they've done in setting up TEDx Aberdeen. Really looking forward to the 16th of November. Lovely to see Martin Hicken. One of our speakers has just come in. I hope he's been with us throughout the whole thing. Can I put that up on this? Yeah, there we go. Hi, Martin. So yeah, thank you for all of your questions, your comments. Thanks for being with us today. This has been a truly special little event. I'm going to finish with our little closing film, and we'll catch you guys next time for Cruxcast 71. See you soon.